My name's Scott Morey, and I'm the CEO of the USC Alumni Association. And on behalf of USC President Stephen B. Sample and all of my colleagues at the University of Southern California, it's my great privilege to welcome you to the grand opening of the USC School of Social Work's San Diego Academic Center. The USC Alumni Association is proud to partner with both the School of Social Work and the USC Alumni Club of San Diego on tonight's event. And we're deeply humbled that so many of you are here for this groundbreaking event in the life of the university, commemorating the launch of our military social work program, the first of its kind at a major research university. Before we begin, I would like to recognize the university and alumni leaders who have joined us this evening. Please stand as I call your names and remain standing so we can recognize you as a group. I ask the audience to please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Dan Epstein, a member of the USC Board of Trustees, and his wife Phyllis. Marilyn Flynn, the Dean of the USC School of Social Work. Marlene Wagner, Associate Dean of External Relations for the USC School of Social Work. Dr. Anthony Hassan, Director of the Center for Research and Innovation on Veterans and Military Families. Ann Hill, former USC trustee and past president of the USC Alumni Association, and her husband, John. Edward Ogle, a former member of the USC Alumni Association Board of Governors and member of the School of Social Work Board of Counselors, and his wife, Elizabeth. Lisa Barquette, a member of the USC Alumni Association Board of Governors, and her husband, Bill. Tony Espinoza, president of the USC Marshall Alumni Association San Diego chapter. Mark Cord, president of the Trojan Club of San Diego, and Barbara Solis, the president of the USC Alumni Club of San Diego. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our university and alumni leaders. Tonight you'll hear from Dean Flynn about the USC School of Social Work faculty and students about this landmark program, which trains social workers and other mental health care professionals to address the unique needs of armed forces, military, veterans, and their families. And you'll also have the opportunity to experience the Artificial Intelligence Situation Simulator designed by the USC Institute for Creative Technologies for the San Diego Academic Center, and it's set up on the other side of these aircraft here, so you can view it after tonight's presentation. Tonight's grand opening celebration is just one in a series of events that have brought together members of the Trojan family here in San Diego County. It's also a compelling reminder of USC's dynamic and continually growing presence in the area. Last spring, USC Executive Vice President and Provost C.L. Max Nikias greeted alumni and friends here at a reception hosted by the Barquettes. The USC Alumni Association partnered with the USC Career Planning and Placement Center to present a Taking Charge of Your Career seminar, and the San Diego chapter of the Marshall Alumni Association regularly hosts career networking events here. In January, we'll be back partnering with the USC Marshall Keenan Career Resource Center to co-host a Pink Slip networking party offering career advice and job search strategies for USC alumni. And next spring, USC Rossier School of Education Dean Karen Sims Gallagher will headline an event here in San Diego. Our San Diego alumni community continues to flourish, reaching out to new grads and developing alumni programming and services. The revitalized USC Alumni Club of San Diego has expanded its programming slate and diversified its membership. And this fall, in recognition of their outstanding work on behalf of USC and the Trojan family, the Trojan League Associates of San Diego County received the Alumni Volunteer Organization of the Year Award at our 2009 Volunteer Recognition Dinner. I want to specifically recognize the Trojan League Associates of San Diego County for their tireless work raising support for the Epstein Family Alumni Center, which we'll be moving into at the end of this academic year. Before I introduce Dean Flynn, I would first like to express my gratitude on behalf of the University of Southern California to the U.S.S. Midway Museum for hosting us here tonight. I'd also like to thank the School of Social Work and the USC Alumni Club of San Diego for their enthusiastic support in planning and organizing tonight's event. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to Dean Marilyn Flynn of the USC School of Social Work. a founding president of the St. Louis Group, the Association of Social Work Schools and Major Research Universities, Dean Flynn recently served as president of the California Association of Deans and Directors of Social Work Programs. Under her leadership, the USC School of Social Work is the first school to receive an appropriation from Congress to create a military social work program. A fitting tribute indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dean Flynn.
Well, welcome to this exceptional gathering. I know that it's cold outside and inside, so I have instructed everybody, including myself, to be brief. But on the other hand, we really are excited about the developments in military social work, and we would like to have some of your attention this evening for this. In this historic setting, it's a wonderful opportunity to introduce an historic new program at USC based in San Diego. Scott has done a lot of thanking already for me, but I particularly like to thank Scott himself for all of the encouragement that he's given to us and for making it possible for us to be here this evening. We're meeting at a time when a new surge is being mounted for the war in Afghanistan. Over 1.7 million men and women have already been deployed either to Afghanistan or Iraq. We know these are unique conditions of war for these and for many reasons. And up to 1/3 of those who are now returning may expect to come back with some form of combat stress disorder. 1 in 8 will come home with a physical injury. 2 years ago, the School of Social Work became the first in the country to respond by creating a specialization in military social work. And it is the first program of its kind in a civilian research university. We created a new center on research and innovation for veterans and their families so that we could, in the usual USC tradition, connect research with training. We opened the beautiful new USC Academic Center in Rancho Bernardo, which began its first class this September. We received funding from the Department of Defense. That's sort of a gentle way of putting the fact that we have now had 2 earmarks, and also funding from the Lindsay Foundation, very generous at its level, to support groundbreaking innovations in teaching technology using virtual reality simulations, and you'll see some of those this evening. Probably most importantly, unlike other programs that seem to have some of the same characteristics, we have hired veterans and retired officers from the Army, Marines, and Air Force, and also Navy as soon as we have a chance, to take major leadership roles as resident faculty in our new center. You'll meet some of this leadership tonight as well as some of our students. We want to help the nation improve its responsiveness to wounded warriors as they come back home. And especially we feel that Los Angeles and San Diego are the best places in the United States to begin this kind of effort. This is a state that has more veterans than any other in the country. At this point, I'd like to introduce Anthony Hassan, who directs our new Center on Research and Innovation for Veterans and Military Families. After 25 years of service, first in the Army and then in the Air Force, Major Hassan retired to join us just this summer. He had about 3 weeks to make the adjustment, so he knows what transition is like. And he is at the Air Force Academy. He was responsible for directing their leadership training programs. He was also deployed to Iraq as combat support for troops. He holds a doctorate in higher education and a master's in social work. Anthony?
Thank you, Dean Flynn. Thank you, Marlene, for hosting this great event. Wow, on the Midway, we're talking about social work in the military. Who would have ever thought about this, right? Well, USC School of Social Work thought about it 2 years ago, and thanks to Dean Flynn and Paul Maiden's leadership, we're here. But before I get started, I thought I would ask for all the veterans in the room to stand up so we can recognize them for their service. So if you would, please stand up. That's awesome. Thank you. There's two folks that I met just in my brief conversations earlier that I'd like to recognize. I'm just taken aback at it. Fred Goris. Fred Goris, would you stand up for me, please? Fred is supporting our troops who have severe injuries with housing opportunities right here in San Diego. And I just thought I'd show him his face and tell you how wonderful it is that he's taking the initiative to support veterans who would otherwise be homeless. So thank you, Fred. And Robert McNulty, if you would stand up for me, please. Robert served on this Midway, so let's give a round of applause to Robert. Okay, I've already spent a minute, now I gotta hurry up because the dean will get on me. So, I am so fortunate to be the director of the Center for Research and Innovation, and I think that's the great part about being at USC is that we always take it to the next level. And I can tell you just recently we were at a major conference for social work educators, and USC is on the stage when it comes to military social work, and everybody else is where you are, sitting down wondering, wow, and saying wow and wondering how the heck we got here. You know, we are leading. We are the nation's leader right now in military social work. To add to that, the vision that I have for the center is that we will continue to be the nation's leader in leadership, education, and research in this area. So when people want to know something about how to treat our veterans, no matter if they're social workers, psychologists, or psychiatrists, they're going to look to us. And we're proud of that, and we're going to continue to live up to our reputation. That's my vision. The mission is to continue to serve the veterans and their families by making sure that all mental health professionals who work with them, who touch their lives, who sit with them behind closed doors, know what the heck they're doing. Because I am committed and passionate to make sure that when we provide treatment to our veterans, it's culturally appropriate and that it's evidence-based. That's my mission, that's my vision. Thank you. So here I go. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration, and I'm going to get off stage for my colleague Jose Coll can talk about all the great things we have going on here in San Diego. So just give me about 5 minutes, and I'll show you this great demonstration about how we're using technology, artificial intelligence, using virtual clients to educate future mental health professionals, both in social work and outside of social work. That's me in the middle of the picture. I had to get on stage somehow. I figured I could get on here with the picture. So, first, we're going to develop scenarios for individual treatment: post-traumatic stress disorder, major depression, and sexual assault. So our virtual clients will have these symptoms, and our students will be able to interact with them before they actually have to get in front of a real patient, if you would, a live patient. So it reduces their anxiety, but it also makes them more effective in their work. The second stage for us is to develop a family, a virtual family, where the student can interact with a virtual family. Going back to the individual, can you imagine, for those of you who are not in the field, what it feels like to be a young student sitting behind a closed door with someone who's suicidal, or someone who's anxious, or someone who's angry? That's pretty intense. But what we're going to do is we're going to provide them the opportunity to learn about this before they get behind closed doors. This is what we're all about. So let me just give you a brief example.
Hello, my name is Dr. Davis. Hello?
What brings you into the office today?
Something bad happened that night.
I'm sorry to hear that. Can you tell me what happened?
I was in the car with Eddie and he stopped the car and wanted me to kiss him, but when I tried to stop him, he threatened me with a knife.
When did this happen to you, Justina?
I was so scared, I thought I might die.
It must have been very tough for you.
Yeah, it still is.
Do you find yourself still being bothered by what happened?
Whenever thoughts of the event pop into my head, I put my iPod on real loud.
You mentioned thoughts pop into your head. What kind of thoughts pop into your head?
I want to get away.
When you think about it, you feel like you need to get away?
That horrible time replays in my mind over and over.
That was an avatar on the computer screen that this student was interacting with. Pretty powerful, but that's just the beginning. What we want to have is this interaction between student and virtual patient. Okay, that's fine, we can do that. It's going to take some time to build all our scenarios out and to perfect it, but we'll get there. But along the way, we want to make sure that our teacher has the ability to increase emotion, increase intensity, or decrease it or stop it to process with the student. Then we're going to take this and turn it into a life-size avatar where we can have this avatar zoom into our virtual clinic. So it will look just like an office for therapy. This avatar will be life-size, and the student will be working with them as if they were just a regular old patient in there. And oh, by the way, his or her classmates will be in the other room watching this via television, and the instructor will again have the opportunity to manipulate the scenario. So we went from an individual with a computer, now an individual with a life-size avatar in a virtual clinic, and we're going to have one in San Diego with Jose, and there's going to be one in LA with me, that our students will be able to use to practice in a virtual clinic and with the instructor and the fellow students watching. And then we're going to deliver this, believe it or not, on an online, through the internet platform, so that a student or a mental health professional in Tennessee will be able to use our technology to get a certification or even get a degree with us using the state of our technology. So that's where we're going. But before we get there, we need to make them a little bit more lifelike. We want to have our students realize that their emotions affect the avatar's emotion. Just like when I am a clinician and I am really not enjoying my conversation with this person across from me because they don't want to be there and they're bothering me and I have a transference of some sort going on, I want to try to get that replicated through technology so that the avatar will react based on my heart rate, my blood pressure, and how many times I blink. And lastly, with 17% of our nation's force from African American culture, we have 11% from the Latino culture, and we have 14.4% are women. I think we need to make sure we have diversity in our avatars. And oh, by the way, our National Guard and Reserve folks, they're not 22, they're 41. The majority are 41. We need to have diversity in age, so this is where we're going. Let me give you a demonstration of what a life-size avatar looks like and a little bit about the emotion. This is the student being wired up so that his or her responses will affect how the avatar responds. So if I'm not happy with the way this session is going, or you're bothering me by the things you're saying, like a 16-year-old says, I'm not talking with you for the next hour, I don't care what you make me do, I might get a little bothered. Well, that might affect the avatar's emotions. So let me just show you what I mean by life-size avatars and how we want to make them more lifelike. I'm almost done, Dean.
Tell me about facial animation research. So you want to know how I'm talking to you right now? Well, read my lips. No, seriously, read them. Facial animation research is all about making sure that my lifelike face is executing the correct facial expression when I talk. It's about analyzing the words that I'm saying and calculating how a real human would shape his mouth and face to produce the sounds that make up speech. It's also about figuring out what kind of emotions my face should show at any given point in time. Now, personally, I don't get too emotional, but some of my other virtual brethren, let's just say they can look pretty darn glum sometimes.
Look at this. We're going to have avatars that can cry. By the way, this technology is provided to us with the support and technological expertise from the Institute for Creative Technologies at USC. That's our partner in all of this. I forgot to mention earlier. Pretty awesome, huh? By the way, my colleague and business partner, Jim Wynn, he said, Anthony, look over here. You see those 3 flight simulators? And Anthony, look at that flight simulator over there. That's where we will be in 10 years, if not sooner. Well, you know USC, if we say 10, it's really 5. We'll be there in 5 years where other schools will rent our equipment out. I'm telling you, we're on to something great. And to really round it out, again, our avatars will reflect who we are in the service. So thank you for your time and attention. I'll turn it over to Dean Flynn.
So this is part 1 to revolutionize graduate education, especially in the training of mental health professionals, but potentially for chaplains, for teachers, for others who will be interacting with military personnel in any capacity, civilian life or active duty. I'd like to introduce now Dr. Jose Coll. Dr. Coll is a Marine, a veteran. He is also a social worker with an MSW and a PhD in counseling. He's kind of an unusual mix for a Marine. And he's made an exceptional contribution to the development of our brand new academic center in Rancho Bernardo, which opened just in August this year. We hope for an enrollment of up to 150 students within the next couple of years. So it will be a full-blown residential academic center, the first of its kind that makes us really the University of Southern California. So let me introduce Dr. Coll.
Thank you, Dean. Good evening, everyone. This is actually an honor to be here among everyone, and of course the Midway. The history of the Midway, its mission, really resonates to everything that we try to do in social work, from the humanitarian component to service, specifically to this new program in military social work, the service that we have to our service members, their family, and children. And across the board, across globally what USC stands for and for what we stand in social work profession. The USC San Diego Academic Center is not far unless you have traffic. And of course today it took 2 hours to get here when it should have taken me 30 minutes to get here on the 163. The USC San Diego Academic Center opened its doors in August with a cohort of 45 students. Each student that is attending and participates in our social work program at the San Diego Academic Center has as much motivation and as much commitment as the sailors and Marines that served on the Midway and continue to serve in Iraq and Afghanistan. With the current deployment of 30,000 to Afghanistan, we need to continue to look on how can we do better and what can we do better. And the school and USC has actually promised to do better and is doing better by being the first school in the nation with a military social work program. Thank you. Like Major and Anthony Hassan just mentioned, when we go to conferences, when we present our program, everyone stays and looks and tries to wonder, why aren't we doing this? It's simple. They're not USC. They're not. I will keep this short because my mission in the Marine Corps was to not be seen or heard, and that continues to be my mission till today. The San Diego Academic Center, as I mentioned, has 45 students. We have 3 full-time faculty. We have an enormous commitment of tenure faculty and faculty who drive all the way from LA to teach our students. We also have adjunct faculty. Most of our faculty either understand the military culture or work on Camp Pendleton as counselors or have private practice serving military members and their families. So when you look at our faculty and the program itself, like Dean Flynn mentioned, we've actually gone out an extra step to bring in individuals who understand the military from either service or commitment. I want to introduce to you 2 of those students today. And I was actually doing the math. Combined, I think we have more than 30 years of service. We have more than 4 deployments. And I want to bring 2 of those students to speak to you about their experience in the Marine Corps. And I'm not biased. I did not recruit just Marines. Their experience in the Marine Corps, their transition into higher education, and how the San Diego Academic Center has been able to support this. I want to introduce Carla Derzinski, who is a captain in the Marine Corps with 2 deployments to Iraqi freedom, and Joe Sturdivant, who was a master sergeant. Actually demoted him earlier, I made him a gunny, but he was a master sergeant in the Marine Corps, and did a deployment to Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and also Iraqi freedom. Carla and Joe.
Good evening. My name is Carla Drzinski, and I'm a first-year Master's in Social Work student at the San Diego Academic Center. I was asked to come here tonight to speak a little bit about myself and about my experience thus far with the USC School of Social Work. I graduated from the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts with a degree in psychology in 2004. Because I attended Holy Cross on a Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps scholarship, I was commissioned into the Marine Corps as a 2nd lieutenant on graduation day. After completing the basic school and basic communications officer course in Quantico, Virginia, I was assigned to Camp Pendleton, to 9th Communications Battalion. 4 weeks after I arrived in beautiful Southern California, I was deployed to Camp Fallujah, Iraq for 1 year. I served as a data platoon commander during this year-long deployment, and my platoon ran the internet on Camp Fallujah. A pretty thankless job that everyone appreciated when it was going right, but when it was going wrong, boy, we heard about it. 1 year after I got back from that deployment, I was deployed again, this time as a civil affairs officer with 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines, a artillery battalion that assumed the civil affairs mission to lead the construction in the reconstruction in Ramadi, Iraq, in the western Al-Anbar province. This deployment was particularly rewarding for me because I got to work with the women and children of Ramadi. I started women's adult literacy programs, open sewing centers, and participated in the general reconstruction projects of the city. It was pretty amazing to be a facilitator of giving these women a voice for the very first time. A month and a half after after the end of my 2nd deployment, I ended active service in the Marine Corps, and I was faced with the daunting question that every transitioning service member faces: what now? For me, I thought, do I follow my heart and pursue a degree or a career in psychology, or do I fall back on my technical skills from the Marine Corps and get a job in corporate communications? I decided to follow my heart. I felt I was in a unique position, given my veteran status, my psychology background, and my experience in the Marine Corps, to help others, fellow veterans like me, specifically from the Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts. So I decided to pursue higher education in the psychology realm. I got a job at the Veterans Village of San Diego, working with Iraq and Afghanistan combat veterans, and I realized I really had found my niche. One of my clients at the Veterans Village actually told me about this program, and I almost fell out of my chair when he told me it was a specialization in military social work. When he told me it was USC, I thought, oh geez, I don't plan to relocate up to LA. But then he told me that there's a brand new academic center being built in San Diego in Rancho Bernardo, and I almost fell out of my chair again. I thought this program was designed specifically for me. Needless to say, I'm now enrolled in the USC School of Social Work here in San Diego. I'm enrolled in the 3-year part-time/full-time program, and I'm now working full-time at the San Marcos Vet Center. My ultimate goal is to become a licensed clinical social worker and work specifically with the young population of veterans that are coming back from the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. This truly is the perfect program for me, and I'm so honored to be a part of a program that's dedicated to helping our nation's veterans coming back. Thank you very much, and have a happy holidays.
Good evening. My name is Joe Sturdivant. I want to thank each and every one of you tonight for being here. Thank you, Dean Flynn, and distinguished guests and alumni and veterans and faculty of San Diego campus. I first entered the Marine Corps in 1984 upon my desire to higher education. I decided to go in the Marine Corps because actually I couldn't afford to go to college. We were talking about the history of the United States Marine Corps in my American government class, and because I was learning about the history of it, it kind of piqued my interest about what great institution that the Marine Corps was. And so upon graduation from high school, I entered the Marine Corps and found it to be a good challenge. I learned a lot of things. I did a lot of things as far as learning about people, learning about different cultures, and learned about leadership and adventure. And so in my tenure in the Marine Corps, I served in various capacities as a drill instructor. I also worked with the drug and alcohol programs, which actually brought me to the social service field. And after completion of a special assignment as a drug and alcohol counselor, I decided I want to do something more. And so 9/11 occurred, and the mission that I had changed. And so I was deployed to Iraq in 2005, serving with the 1st Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion. And at that time I was about 20 years in the service, and my experience over in Iraq gave me a greater insight that perhaps I need to change jobs. And so once I returned from Iraq, I decided that I wanted to do something different as far as working with individuals and working with people as a whole. And so when I transitioned from the military, I entered the VA healthcare systems, where I learned about the various works that social workers do. And once I completed my transition with the VA, I was able to be employed by the VA, which was phenomenal. My transition was really smooth. I worked in the drug and alcohol counseling field within the VA for approximately 6 months. And so one day, one of the social workers that came up to me and asked me, he says, "Joe, I've been observing you, and I like what you do. I like your motivation. I like your enthusiasm about what you do." And so he asked me to be a part of his team. And so I'm grateful that he recognized that I had something to give to others. And so with that, I applied to work with the social work programs in the VA Medical Center. And from that day, I do not regret what I have learned and observed as to the power of what social work practice can do in our communities and in our society. And so, based on the professionalism that I have observed from the VA, the professionals that I have had the opportunity to work with and to develop the sense of what social workers do, I have a great power to be a part of that phenomenal work that they do. And so, how did I hear about the USC School of Social Work? Well, it was through word of mouth. It was by word of mouth, which is very powerful in this day and age. So one gentleman was talking about there was going to be a program that was going to focus on emphasis in military social workers, working primarily with those returning back from combat and family members of individuals that were coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan. And so I received this business card with Dr. Jose Coll. And I held on to that card for approximately 9 months. And finally I found out about, hey, it's coming, it's here, it's finally here. And I called Dr. Coll up and I asked him about the program. And I was stoked. I was stoked that a doctor took the opportunity to call me. Because in the Marine Corps, it's not like that ever happens like that. And so I pursued my interest and goals to be a part of the social work program, the new social work program, because my heart is in the military. My heart is with the military community, because I know there's a need. Based on my observation and working with the VA in the last 3 years, working with the returning combat veteran, working with those wounded veterans and service members that are coming back, the need is there. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity that we have institutions that have the vested interest in serving those and their family members coming back. So I'm grateful for the staff that we have at the Academic Center, how they empower us to do our best, how they make it themselves visible to meet the needs. When I left the USMC and I transitioned to the USC, I didn't make a mistake. Opportunity, and may you stay encouraged to support what the mission of USC social work practice is. Thank you.
Let me briefly, before I turn it back to Dean Flynn, the 2 veterans that you've seen here are among 9 other veteran students that came into our program in August. And as of last week, it's just an unbelievable amount of veterans who are actually calling and trying to get into our program for the fall of next year. And we just received an email from a major pilot, helo pilot, who's currently deployed in Afghanistan at Camp Leatherneck, who's done 12 years in the Marine Corps, seen an article, seen a brochure, sends me an email, says, I've done 12 years, I'm glad what I've done, but now I need to transition out and wants to come in August. And he's a major, 12 years in the service as a helo pilot, currently deployed, he's done 3 deployments, and wants to become a social worker. And it's that kind of commitment what we're looking for. Again, thank you for everything, and have a great evening. I'm going to turn it back to Dean Flynn.
Isn't this amazing? It's wonderful. We now have some time for comments or questions. If you have anything that you'd like to address to any of the speakers or comment that you'd like to make yourself, we have a roving microphone. Yeah.
I have a question about the avatar with the teacher. How much of it is the teacher just kind of typing in dialogue, and how much of it is actually branching to a particular, something that's actually done by a computer, and you say, oh, okay, we're going to take the yes, no, or something along those lines. Is the teacher typing in the dialogue, or is it actually saying, go this direction?
Anthony, if you want to comment.
The teacher will not type. This will already be embedded into the avatar. So we'll work with the techie guys and gals, and then our content experts and researchers will all get together and we'll embed the content with the decision-making kind of tree that you're talking about. If they go this way, then, or if the student says something and it's really not where they should be going, it'll send the avatar to go to this conversation. We hope that the student will pick up on that. For example, young students want to hurry up and fill out the form, so the patient's crying in front of them, they don't even realize it. So what we want is that the patient, the avatar, will then kind of clue them in, wait a minute, you should have shown empathy, you should have paraphrased here, but you didn't. Or you should have asked me, what am I thinking, but you didn't. So we're going to design it where the avatar will help guide the student in the learning of evidence-based practice. Thank you.
Our biggest challenge, of course, is really to get to the point where there's no typing at all, that the whole thing is on voice recognition, and that's where the Institute for Creative Technologies will be doing a lot of development work for us. There's no system anywhere. There are voice recognition systems, but there's no system anywhere that will fully accommodate a true conversation between an avatar and a human being. So we'll be gradually moving toward that goal. Anthony and I just met with the Undersecretary of Defense a few days ago and showed him this, and his reaction to it was to say that first he had never seen anything like this, and secondly he was pumped. So it looks like we'll have more encouragement to continue this development, and really it's going to represent the first wave in how graduate education in social work, psychology, and some of the other helping professions occurs.
Hi, I'm Judy Adams, class of '79. I was 12 when I finished. I brought with me my good friend Diane McGrogan. Diane is head of social work services at Sharp Mesa Vista, the psychiatric hospital here in San Diego, and it occurs to me that the question here is, what about field placements, internships? How is that? What are your relationships going to be with your partners in the community where you're going to place these students? Thank you.
Well, I know just the man to answer that.
She said men, and I'm looking for Pam. I'm not sure what Pam is. Pam, where are you, Pam? Stand up, Pam. So Pam Francois is actually our field coordinator and faculty member for the San Diego Academic Center. And actually, the collaboration has been enormous. And one of the things that we had to do, we had no option. So of course, in social work, we have to do field placements. So as soon as we were thinking about it, one of the mission was to develop field placements. So whatever you do before you leave today, please see Pam, because we love internships. See, Pam already called you.
We have time for just one or two more questions or comments.
Hi. For those who already possess a master's in counseling or in social work, MSW, do you have opportunities for certification?
Yes. I'm being coached from down here. Yes. Yes. We have 4 courses that represent the core that we think is necessary content for people specializing in this area. And one of our aspirations is to do exactly what you're suggesting, and that is take experienced social workers, psychologists, and others who have a lot to contribute but no experience really in working with the military, or experience in working with them but still not quite there yet, and offering this opportunity for more specialized education. And we should have 2 of those courses up, we hope, by fall 2010, and perhaps 2 others by the beginning, maybe a year later.
Hi, good evening everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for this program.
Okay. Hi.
It's the hair throwing you off, right?
Yeah, no, I saw him raise his hand and then he wasn't speaking and I heard a voice. So, it kind of, I thought, it's an avatar-like experience, so.
Sorry about that. I'm a
Yes,
singer,
that's
so
okay.
like the microphone is a magnet. I'm sorry. I actually spent a year as a seminarian at San Francisco Theological Seminary. I'm a veteran that's been recovering from PTSD, and the reason I took a year off from seminary is because I realized there was a huge disconnect between the way that the folks are being prepared to do ministry and the need of veterans. And there's my experience, or my question is, what type of work are you all going to be doing around the issue of, spirituality and the need of veterans in relationship to the communities, the religious communities that are out there, diverse communities that are out there? And then also, are you going to be offering placements? Pam, are you going to be offering placements for folks from this program to work in the diverse spiritual communities that are there? Because one of the things that I noticed as I was going through the domiciliary program is the lack of spiritual diversity with which folks that are recovering from this multitude of mental health issues are offered. It's a lot of the language, there's a disconnection in the language, there's a disconnection of how to sort of connect with veterans in terms of meeting these types of needs. So my hope is that maybe there can be some kind of connection between or a relationship, an academic institutional relationship between places like San Francisco Theological Seminary and this program, because without that, that's like a really important component that's missing, and we want to treat the whole veteran. So if you could address that, Dean, thank you.
I have, the Vice Dean is yearning to speak to this. But yes, we're just came back from Washington talking to the Chaplain's Command.
My brother, thank you for that question. From the son of a minister, we are developing a chaplain's response program, and we were in D.C. this week. We went with the Chaplaincy Corps, and we're going back several times, but this is a critical issue, and we realized when we, in the last 2 years when we did all this program, we came to San Diego, we spent a lot of time here, and one of the things we found, and Jose was with me when we met with the chaplains, and we were looking at the spiritual aspects of it, and also how do people fully recover, and really what we heard from the chaplains is that they go through this whole PTSD program, and then they go into another level, which is really kind of a spiritual counseling program. And we constantly heard, that their struggle is, with getting over what they saw and what they did, and that was it. And I know you understand that. And it really came together in terms of what they did with the chaplains and their ministers. And this whole process is really kind of regaining one's humanity. And I know you understand that. And this is really where it takes place, and it's really kind of, as they say, war is hell, but it's kind of like you've got to get, how do you regain your humanity? And the focus is really on, helping these individuals to find forgiveness and to restore themselves. And that's really that's a whole other component of our program. We've talked a lot about our master's program, but this is a program working with chaplains to do pastoral counseling and really kind of get into the kind of the psychiatric aspects of it. So I just want to tell you, we are very much in the midst of developing, as what you've heard is, we've got our MSW program, we've got a postmaster certificate program, and we've got a program to work with chaplains and first responders who are really in touch with the spiritual aspects, but how do they deal with all this, the trauma and the psychological damage, and that's really part of what we're doing. So I'm just so glad you brought that up, and you can understand this is a very, very intense experience for all of us. And we found, with the guys in our program, the women in our program, that no matter where you've been, you are going to be changed by this experience. Doesn't matter what your involvement has been. You've been to war and you're going to be changed by it. And it's like, how do you kind of reestablish yourself, as a civilian, the day-to-day life? And I think that's really what this program is about. And I'm so glad you asked that question, because it's so very important. Thank you.
And by the way, we're also working on a very separate track, which would train teachers and superintendents in public schools that have high proportions of kids from the military, and a lot of those in San Diego. So, So we're very privileged to have this opportunity to meet with you tonight. I'm told, you know, just to get down from here and let you all eat and talk. So I'm glad to do that. The deck is open for until about 8:30. So please enjoy yourselves. Talk. I'm looking forward to meeting those of you I haven't had a chance to say hello to. And thank you again for coming this evening.